Hi, everybody. Kimberly Ray here with Marine Conservation Network. Good morning and good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are. We are here today with Tara LaSalla, and we are going to talk to her a little bit. She has her own organization that she has started with the premise of protecting the earth and promoting all the people that are doing the right thing. So this is Tara. Hi, Tara. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's a pleasure. This is very, very wonderful news. I love finding out about other organizations that are helping to build our ocean communities. And we wanted to get to know you a little bit and have you talk to all of our ambassadors and our followers and let them know that you're out there and the impact that you're making. So tell us a little bit about your background as far as how you got into the marine environment world.
Yeah, it's really started, I think, as a young person. I think naturally this was what I was born to do, was protect Mother Earth. And yeah, I actually became a marine biologist, and I do work here in the local community in Tampa, Florida. I actually live in St. Petersburg, Florida, so the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. And it was really the love of the environment. And I've always been in the education sector, and I really enjoy educating consumers on what they can do to help lessen their impact on the earth. And this is where I was able to actually create a business. And so I created a company called Green Me Locally. And Green Me Locally is a global resource for consumers to find different eco-friendly businesses, events, and then we do a lot of writing and education actually on various sectors and sustainability. So we cover a lot of different topics.
And I'm sorry, but as you're talking, I'm sharing your website so everybody can see what to look for.
Okay.
So they can go and check it out.
Yeah, so part of the resource is a business directory, actually, and this directory consists of a variety of businesses all over the globe, actually, that are doing good things for people and the planet. It's that triple bottom line. So people, planet, and then profit. So as you can actually, as you're going through the directory, we have lots of different categories. So you can find out where your local farms are in your area, vegan restaurants, eco-friendly clothing, bags, renewable energy, we have lots of different categories, lots of different businesses, but the aim is that these are ethical businesses, that they're not just concerned about making profits, but rather that they're what they're producing, if it's products or services, that it has the earth in mind.
And so they're there to change the world along with building a business. That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, and I, part of what I do. So I've been building this resource for quite a few years. The company actually started back in 2010, and this is just something that we started here in the Tampa Bay area, started expanding nationally. And interesting enough, I had companies reaching out to me that were overseas that wanted to be part of the directory, which was kind of an interesting thing that was happening. I didn't expect it, but they're more progressive in other countries than we are here in the US when it comes to a lot of environmental initiatives. So that is actually when we decided to make the resource global. So whether you're at home or you're traveling abroad, you can find different businesses that are supporting the planet. And not just the bottom line.
And that's really important. That's really important. How did you get into this? What made you decide to start a company to where you promoted other companies that are doing the right thing?
Yeah, it was kind of a natural evolution, being in the field of marine science, and I was doing education. And then actually, because of the economy, lost my job, and I spent some time in the corporate sector and learned different skills. And again, economy, change in jobs again. Yes. And that's when I was like, okay, let me go back to my education, my marine biology world, and get back into my field. And this was kind of a good way. I've always felt because I've been in the educational area, that I would be more effective as a business influencer, as a leader in the community, than always just being in the water doing research. So I wanted to really be that conduit, if you will, between the scientific community and ordinary citizens. So that's where I've kind of decided that this would be a really good idea. And the whole purpose of this resource was to have a one-stop shop so people don't always have to Google and find stuff.
That's exactly.
And as companies come into the directory, and I always want to make sure they're doing the right thing too, that they're ethical themselves. So yeah, this was to make it a little bit simpler for people, that they could find that direct route. They're not just searching for themselves, and to find stuff in their local area. So we do, it's great to be as local as you can, but sometimes we have to define what is local. Is local
right? Exactly.
5 miles away? Is local
exactly
100 miles away? So yeah, this is just an easy way to get people at least knowing, businesses are out there doing some good stuff out there. So
that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And it's good that you did like a one-stop shop, because with the internet, especially since COVID, it's so overloaded. You can get very confused and you can get very overwhelmed, because there's so much information. To have a one-stop shop is exactly what we need to have more of in order to bring everybody together.
Absolutely.
When you started this idea, you started it back in 2010, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Did you have a lot of naysayers that said, this is not quite what you think you ought to be doing, or was everybody pretty much supportive?
Yeah, very supportive. Because people just, even, it wasn't that, it seems like forever ago, but it's not that long ago. But no, people actually embraced it, because it was a way to find out what was going in your local community. Where are the farms? Where are these sustainable products? Because even at that time, Amazon wasn't the behemoth that it is like today. So this is, the important point is, this is like a really eco-niched resource. And that's the trouble now today, with the internet being so big, with so many products out there, that if you were just to Google, you may not find products that are as good as you think that they are. So that's where I spend some time making sure that the companies are who they say they are. I'm not a officiator of, I don't give out specific badges to say, yes, you do this specific thing, but I'm pretty intuitive to, understand what these companies are doing and making sure that they are who they say they are.
And how do you go about doing that? How do you go about making sure that they're doing exactly what you feel that they should be doing? Because this has a lot to say about your reputation and their reputation. How do you go about finding out that they're following through?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's not always the easiest, but yeah, a lot of time it's just actually talking with the person that started the business. And through that discussion, you can usually tell pretty quickly what they're in it for. And they usually always have the stories are very compelling, and there's always that emotional tie to it, why they started a particular product or service. And I do my best to make sure that that's what they're doing. And I'm very confident in that, because like you said, my reputation is attached to that as well. So
exactly.
I want to make sure I'm representing good, ethical, solid companies.
Right.
And I'm usually pretty good at finding out something doesn't seem right. So I don't want to have them part of the directory family, if you will.
Right. So it's basically getting to know people, networking, and just really connecting to people that are on the same path as you. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. It's a big, huge network that we're in essence creating. And with the all the different social media platforms as well, it's allowed us to all come together and, meet each other and work together. And that way we're not being redundant in the same time. So we're all using our specific skill set to do something, in regards to the environment or ocean protection.
Well, I went through your list myself before we met today, and there are a lot of things that I would like to check into and use, because I didn't know they even existed out there.
Exactly.
And I know of a couple companies that maybe we should add to your list, actually, that actually are very much into eco-friendly and good for the environment. along with building a business. So I'll talk to you about that, at a later date.
Cool.
What projects, are there any projects that you're working on in particular at this time?
Yeah, actually the interesting one I created that started from the directory is a very cool project called Mission Plastic. And Mission Plastic was actually started, I was doing I was part of a group of 3 or 4 people, and it was based on what we called the human experience. And we talked a lot about our thinking, how our thought patterns, our daily experiences, how we can change things. And at the end of this group, it was about 3 months, and the coach leading the group actually asked us if we could work on something, a project where we didn't actually put an end goal to it, but something we can just actually do something every day that we're putting our efforts toward it. But we're not saying, okay, at the end of 3 years, this is what we want to happen. We're just working towards something. And so for me, it was kind of an easy thought, like, okay, coming from marine biology world, doing environmental work, ocean plastic pollution. That was something that obviously is huge. We need to be working on. And that's actually how the idea originated to create Mission Plastic. And the whole idea behind this project is actually, as I was building this directory, these companies, I was coming across businesses that create alternative packaging. So the whole point of this is we want to connect with businesses that are currently packaging their products in plastic and having them switch over to an alternative packaging, because we want to work at plastics at the source, because of course there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of groups, you figure, across the globe that are always doing plastic cleanups every year. But in essence, it's almost like going into your bathtub, turning the water on, letting it flood into your bathroom, and then we're just saying, well, let's just mop up the floor, but we're never turning off the water. And that's in essence plastic pollution that we keep putting, we're cleaning it up, but we're never addressing it at the source roots. And that source is, okay, we can obviously say it's the industry making the plastics, but it's the businesses that are creating the demand for that, for their products. So that's what I consider source. And that's where we want to work with businesses to get that switched over. So as I was building this directory, great, let me connect you now, business that's making everything in plastic, and let's connect you to this alternative company, or a company that makes alternatives to packaging. So this is a really fun project. It's very challenging.
Yes, I would say so, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, we can work in different sectors. So food, that's a big one, doing a lot of studies on what is the plastic that's out there. But yeah, packaging is a huge one, especially food. Beauty and hygiene, these are really 2 large areas that we can work in to get them switched over. So I really wanted to have this as a grassroots effort. So people that have maybe their favorite products that they love, maybe it's organic and they enjoy it, but the packaging is in plastic. So that's where we can reach out to this company and say, there's alternatives available. Maybe they just don't know it yet, or maybe they've tried it and it didn't work, but they're, as technology goes on, we can re-look at that again and see what's a good viable alternative.
Right. And unfortunately, in the business aspect, it always comes back to money too. A lot of companies, from what I understand, they have a hard time going eco-friendly because they say it's more expensive. Do you find that to be true in a lot of ways?
So yeah, this is in some respects, yes. So, but things are changing as more companies switch over. We're creating more demand now for that alternative. So it just depends on who you're working with. I think the ones right now that are in this sector, they're ethical companies. They're more responsive and attentive to this, to get this done. But at the same time, there's a really good case study that I'm actually, I can share real quick, but there's a company out there called Native Deodorant.
Oh, okay. I think I've heard of them.
Native Deodorant. So they're pretty big. It was actually started not that many years ago, but it was bought up by Procter & Gamble actually. And they exploded, but it's found in all of your major retailers, your Targets and your Walgreens and all that. But what happened is actually, it is kind of focused on more of your eco-friendly people. What happened was the consumer actually reached out to Native and kept saying, I love your product, but your packaging sucks. So they kept, yes. So it was actually consumer driven, and they in fact created an alternative. So it goes to, for a lot of deodorants, they're in a tube, like a paper tube packaging, and they've gone to that, and that was all consumer driven. So that's the kind of cool aspect, like when you talk about the business aspect of it. Why does a business want to do this? Because your consumers are the ones that are buying your product. And
exactly.
If you don't change the way you're doing business, then you're going to either lose business, you're going to go out of business. So that's a really compelling story, I think, of when we talk.
Do you find that more people are actually going to eco-friendly products and containers and everything like that than what there was, say, maybe 5 years ago?
Oh gosh, just 5 years, absolutely. It's and what's really cool about this is I was doing all this research on this before I launched Mission Plastic. I wanted to make sure, like, is this feasible? And what surprised me was it wasn't just people that we consider environmental activists that were concerned about this. It's everybody. It's your non-environmental activists just
that's fantastic.
How much plastic is out there. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we get this. I agree. Like we need to stop. And of course, with all of last year, there was, this huge demand from online retailers, Amazon. And as people were at home, working from home, they got to kind of be more awakened to how much waste that you're creating when you do any sorts of buying. And they just saw this kind of just piles of stuff, whether it was getting stuff delivered, food, or just your hygiene and that kind of type products. Like, wow, everyone saw there's so much plastic. What do I do with it all?
I noticed even in my own household, when we had lockdown, I didn't think we had that much trash because we had one bin for recycling, one bin for regular trash, in our kitchen. Yep. And normally before COVID, we had to take it out maybe once a week or maybe once every other day. But when COVID hit and we were locked down, I couldn't believe how much trash we accumulated in such a short amount of time, because now everything was staying in. We weren't going out to restaurants. We weren't going out to the stores. We were staying home. And now more than ever, COVID has been good and bad. The good thing is it brought to light what's really happening in the world that we didn't realize before, that we took for granted. So the fact that you've actually seen changes is fantastic and really, really good that this is happening. We have a young ambassador program with our organization, and we are helping them to start their careers in marine conservation and marine biology. What advice would you give them if they wanted to do like a nonprofit, like what you have done, to get started and how to stay consistent? What would you say to them?
I would say at first, do your research, find out what's going in your area. What is the need? And what is it that you see as a problem? But then also, what do the people that you want to market to, what do they see as the problem? Because sometimes you as the business owner or nonprofit, what you perceive as a problem and who you're trying to market to as what they say is a problem are two different things. So do your research. I would say that's probably the biggest thing if you're trying to start a business or a nonprofit organization. And also make sure that you're not in your area, you're not competing necessarily with, you're not doing the same thing as another nonprofit, because you have to keep in mind you're also would be working for the same dollars. So make sure that you're not, you're competing for the same dollars as well. So
basically you have to stand out. You have to stand out in what you're doing in order to make a movement and to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about, now I know kids have this issue more than anything. What about the negativity that comes along with it? Because they have to be aware that there's negativity out there, unfortunately, because you're a minor, because you're trying to do what a lot of other people are doing, or just people in general. How do you suggest that they stand against that so they can keep going and stay positive?
Yeah, the biggest one is to surround yourself with good people, to have that safety net of really good people, people that are mentors. And then it doesn't always have to be necessarily your, the parents or family members, but other people that have gone through the same process that can help them. And of course, with social media, yeah, it's that can be really difficult because now you're almost on stage for the world.
Very true. Very true.
And how do you combat that? Because there's just an element of negativity out there that will always be there. But to that I say, just keep going. Don't. And I know it's really easier. It's easy to say.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Easier
Yes.
said than done. But yeah,
Yes.
I think it's really to surround yourself with good people that can give you the support and help you. Basically got to block that negativity out, because that's not doing anybody any good at the end of the day. We need to obviously support each other. So to have a really good mentorship program and people that you can rely on to talk to and work through it.
Exactly. And the younger generation in my opinion, are the ones that are really going to make a difference for the future, because they know why it's important. They know what's important. And a lot of them are really gung-ho and ready to get going. So this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time out today and talking to us. I'm going to put the link to your website down below this video. So everybody, when you check us out, be sure that you subscribe to us, and be sure that you go to Tara's website and subscribe to her. She has got phenomenal companies out there that are working together to make an impact. And if that's what your motivation is, and if that's what your goal is, check her out and check out those businesses and see if there's any that you can give any kind of customer service to. Yeah, so again, Tara, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. And remember, everybody, together we can make oceans a difference. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.